They artificially propped this thing up with all that fake money, again, backed by nothing and printed on nothing. And now it's coming to an end. Canada just lowered their interest rates 50 basis points. Yeah, no kidding. So again, it's going to be dragflation, declining economic growth and rising inflation.
On this episode of the What the Finance podcast, I have the pleasure of welcoming back Gerald Celente. So Gerald is the founder and director of the Trends Research Institute and the publisher of the Trends Journal, with over a 40-year track record of identifying, tracking, and forecasting trends. So Gerald, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you, Anthony.
No problem. Looking forward to the conversation because, as I was saying before, there's lots happening in the world, a lot for us to talk about. And really where I like to start all my interviews is just starting quite broad. So what are you currently seeing in the economy and the globe?
Well, when you're looking when you're looking at the globe, look at the largest country in the world, China. I mean, its economy isn't doing well at all, and it's only going to get worse. Sometimes people call me a futurist, and I said nobody can predict the future. There are too many wild cards, whether they're made by humans or by nature. We had forecast that the 20th century would be the American century, and the 21st century would be the Chinese century. And it was because the business of America is war, and the business of China is business. Well, that was up until 2020, when China launched the COVID war. That's what all the politicians called it, by the way, a war. You could look it up. They had 3 years of zero COVID policy. They destroyed the lives and livelihoods of hundreds of millions of its people. The world has not recovered from this COVID war. Now, going back to China, you look at China's GDP before Bill Clinton allowed them to come into the World Trade Organization, officially 2 weeks after 9/11, 2001. The GDP is like this. They get into the World Trade Organization, shoots straight up as all those manufacturers in Europe and the United States sent their manufacturing to China so they could get cheap labor and make more money. So China, with all booms, there's a bust. They overbuilt the place. You have 60 million, that's the official number, of vacant buildings, apartments. 60 million. It was overbuilt to begin with, and now the COVID war made a very bad situation worse. Okay, that's the second largest economy in the world. Oh, Germany. Oh, third largest economy in the world. Yeah, that's just in recession, basically, and forecast to go into recession again in 2025. So it's one country after another. You're looking at Europe, you're looking at China, you're looking at the Moody's and Fitch degrading country after country. This thing's going down. It was artificially propped up when they fought the COVID war, and nations threw in countless trillions of dollars of fake money backed by nothing and printed on nothing. Hey, look at the latest IMF report. The world governments are in over $100 trillion worth of debt. How are they going to pay this stuff off? They're not. Oh, in America, what have we got officially, like 36 trillion? And then when you put in Social Security and all what the government owes, it's more like 260 trillion. So then it goes, why are gold prices going up? Oh, don't talk about it. Don't talk about why gold prices are way high, why they went up almost $700 in this year. Again, that was one of our top trend forecasts, a golden year for gold. We made that forecast on January 2nd of this year, and it's gone up $700. Not a word in the mainstream media about it. Don't talk about it. The reason gold prices are going up is because the people in the know what's going on. Oh, and the central banksters, the people responsible for all of this, buying up gold like at record levels. So when you're looking at the geopolitical and the socioeconomic trends shaping the future, it's danger ahead.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. I'd like to touch on a point there that you spoke about. You saying this, everyone thought that after COVID, it was a new normal of, economic growth, prosperity, potentially inflation. But it seems to have just been a blip, and then everything's sort of gone back to where it was in 2019, which was no growth, lots of challenges, inequality, all these other factors. Is that sort of what you saw?
Absolutely. And you nailed it. You go back to 2019, Germany was in the cusp of recession. Oh, and people forgot, again, I'm a political atheist. Just briefly, I began my career working on major political campaigns in Westchester County, the richest county in America back in the day. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I designed and instructed a course called American Politics and Campaign Technology and taught it at St. John's University, how to run political campaigns. And at a younger point in my life, I was the chief government affairs specialist for the chemical industry, killing environmental legislation at the height of the environmental movement in the 1970s. So I was on the other side. Then I started to grow up. I'm making this point because if I wasn't on the other side, I wouldn't know what I know now. It's a freak show. It's a freak show. That's who's running the world's governments. Little bunch of gutless, moronic freaks that are leading us into very, very terrible economic dangers ahead. And it's only going to get worse. Going back to, they printed all of this fake money, artificially propped up everything. So all those people like in America that they love Trump, I can't stand either one of them. To me, it's a Disney World White House, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Go back to 2018 when the equity markets in December were crashing and Donald Trump forced the Fed head to lower interest rates to artificially prop up the markets. Again, what you were saying in 2019. Go to the repo disaster that was going on in September of 2019. When they're dumping in all this money, the Federal Reserve, to artificially prop up the banks again. People forgot about this. One of our top trends for 2020 was New World Disorder. People forgot. There were protests going on in France, the Yellow Vests, Algeria, South Africa, Chile, Cambodia, Bolivia, all over the world, people taking to the streets because of lack of basic living standards, government corruption, crime, and violence. Oh, then COVID happened. Can't go out in the street, can't protest, get back in your house. They artificially propped this thing up with all that fake money, again, backed by nothing and printed on nothing. And now it's coming to an end. Canada just lowered their interest rates 50 basis points. Yeah, no kidding. So again, it's going to be dragflation, declining economic growth and rising inflation. And the inflation numbers they're saying are a load of crap. What are you, housing costs in the United States went up since the COVID war, nearly 50%. Automobiles some 39%. Insurance, health insurance, car insurance. Oh, it didn't go up that much this time. It didn't go down. No, I'm telling you, we are in the worst geopolitical and socioeconomic times I've ever witnessed in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that with the Fed now. They've just recently cut again and trying to provide this liquidity into the market, as you said, extra money printing, trying to boost it even more. But
Yep.
you wonder, when there'll be a disconnect and it actually won't help.
Again, it's a rigged game. You got three companies that own 88% of the S&P 500. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. You got 1% that own 54% of all the equity markets in the United States. 1%. When you put the 10%, 93%. It's a rigged game. They're going to do everything they can to keep the markets up. Oh, they got a thing called a plunge protection team. Oh, what am I, 6 years old? Who the hell are you talking to? Plunge protection team. You got a bunch of slime balls rigging the markets when it goes down. Oh, yeah, we can't lose. We're the 1%. All we are plantation workers of Slavelandia. Everybody get that in your head. The bigs own everything. Oh, they got an election in America? You got to have $1 billion to run for president. You got to have tens of millions to run for senator or Congress. It's a crime syndicate. I got to tell you something, man. If all these politicians were Italian, hey, they call it a mafia. Yeah, that's all it is. It's a low-life crime syndicate that's robbing the nation of its freedom, its life, its liberty, and the pursuit of justice. What's your favorite war? Again, it's a crime syndicate. The Federal Reserve, not my numbers, Levy Institute of Bard College, dumped in $29 trillion to bail out the bankster bandits when the Panic of '08 hit. Yep. Hey, but you could lose your house, you could lose your job, we'll give you nothing. Look what's going on. They had that hurricane that wiped out a lot of pieces of North Carolina. Here's a couple of $100. So far, the numbers, according to Judge Andrew Napolitano, that the United States has sent to Ukraine to fight the war, $220 billion. $220 billion. All the money, $20 billion more to Israel to keep their genocide going. I forgot that one. But no money for we the people of Slavelandia.
Yeah, and there was a peace deal on the table in 2022 to prevent the escalations in Russia, Ukraine, and then, all this money down the drain, thousands of lives have been lost. It's sad.
Yep. Oh, and you had that little clown Boris Johnson. Yep, going over to Kyiv to kill the peace deal. That was in March of 2022. The war began February 24th, 2022. Again, Boris Johnson, the best cartoonist in the world, could not come out with a more clownish figure than that little piece of crap. A clown boy in front of everybody's eyes. Hey, how about that little Katson Macron over there in France? A little Olaf Schultz over there in Germany. Out of his mind, Biden in the United States. And again, a Mickey Mouse versus Donald Duck race to the White House in America. Numbskulls. And it's all over the world. All over the world. It's so sad.
What do you think needs to change to, help the average person?
I tell everybody what you have to do is get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You're in the fight for your life. Once upon a time, there was a revolution in the United States. And one of the founding fathers said, it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And that's what we need. We need a peaceful revolution. And we need a whole new system. Again, the crime syndicate, two parties have been running the country for how many hundreds of years over here? They call it a democracy. Yeah, we go kill people all over the world for freedom and democracy when you don't have it over here. If you don't swallow the crap spewing out of politicians' mouths, they call it misinformation, and you're blacklisted. So, and I think it's going to take a renaissance. What happened after the Black Plague? Some 60% of Europe was wiped out. The people were killing themselves with the filthy sanitation. And they realized that what they're doing. And they said in Italy, alla Romana et all'antica, in the manner of the Romans and the ancients, to describe the quality of their work. And that, to me, is what has to happen. We need a renaissance. Once upon a time when I was a young guy, they had this thing called the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. It was huge. Step right up, see the freak show. Now you don't have to pay to see the freak show anymore. All you have to do is go out into the street. You could see it. You got the fat man, the tattooed lady, the lady with the beard. They're all over the place. Look at the decline of them. Look at the decline of society. Oh, pajamas are the hot things to wear for chicks now, right? I mean, look at the decline in front of our eyes. Look at the crappy buildings they build. All of this steel and glass when they used to have beautiful buildings and culture. And again, this is what no one's talking about, only in your Trends Journal. And by the way, it's the grand total of $2.50 a week, over 200 pages on average a week. And you read what you want. It's a magazine. No one's talking about the office building bust and how that's going to bring down the banking system. Your office vacancy rates in the United States, of the largest cities, is 24%. Vacant, nobody there. Your office occupancy rate, meaning people going back to work, 50.1% according to Castle Systems with a K. How are they going to pay their loans, the building owners? They're going to default on them. They're going to bring down the banking system. No one is talking about it. Zero, not a cover, no coverage, no coverage. You had a little bank just went bust in Oklahoma last week. Only 2 banks went bust so far in the United States. When 3 banks went bust in 2023, Signature, First Republic, and Silicon Conman Valley Bank, markets went way down, gold went way up. That was 3 banks. You have some $4 trillion worth of commercial real estate loans coming due in the next 2 years. Yep. There's going to be defaults like we've never seen before. These are the facts. You could look it up. About 2 months ago, a building in Midtown Manhattan, 50th Street. Sports Illustrated used to be there. In 2006, it sold for around $320 million. It went up for auction. They sold it $8.5 million. You mean it was $320 million and now went for $8.5 million? That's right. Look it up. The buildings built in the last, saying the crappy buildings they build, the buildings built in the last 50 years are non-convertible to housing. So that's the crap that the politicians spew out. It's loaded junk. You take that building, it's in Midtown Manhattan, in the middle of the block. No windows on one side, no windows on another side, no windows on the back. Ain't convertible. This is going to go on, and I'm telling you, no one's talking about it. No one. So there's going to be a building. Again, as I said, look at gold prices. Again, why are they going up? Because the people in the know how bad it is. And the media refuses to report it. And there's no media left. There's no media left. It's gone. Journalism's dead. The bigs own everything. The United States, 6 companies control 92% of the media.
Hey everyone, sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to extend a massive thank you to you for listening and tuning in and for your support over these 3 years. So we've had, hundreds of guests that we've welcomed on the podcast. We've had millions of views with hundreds of thousands of different people listening in. So I just wanted to thank you. You know, I started this as a student. I'm now currently working and I've always done this on the side just because I have a passion for it and I've enjoyed it. And probably similar to yourself, you listen to all these, different YouTube channels and podcasts of people listening to different guests. That's how I started, and I just wanted to sort of take the plunge and be able to have the opportunity to speak to these people, and you've made that happen. So thank you very much. Just myself, don't make any money from this, and it's really a passion project. So thanks for supporting that passion of mine. If you wanted to support the channel, all I ask is if you could like, subscribe, or even comment, positive or negative feedback. I'm always willing to take constructive criticism. I'd really appreciate that. But otherwise, thanks so much. If you can believe it, only 14% of our listeners actually subscribe to the podcast. So yeah, if you can, great. If not, no problem at all. Thanks for listening, and yep, let's get back to the show. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like they're going to give up without a fight, though, and I think that's one thing that people struggle with is I guess the people who have the power, say the current politicians, say the current companies, even the bureaucracies in the background who aren't voted. If you ever try to make any change, they're sort of kicking and screaming and they'll try and take you down. It seems like that's sort of the approach that they have, and it makes change extremely hard.
Oh, yeah. But again, it could happen because the people are generally disgusted with what's going on. Again, I've been in this business a lot of years. I've never witnessed a campaign like the one in the United States where so many people care so little about either candidate. Yeah, they both have, particularly the Trump side, they have the true Trumpers, but the majority don't care about this. And again, the majority have no idea what's going on globally. I mean, did Taylor Swift get laid last night is the news, I mean, they don't know what's going on. They have no idea about what's going on, the Ukraine war, the Israel war. And there's no concern. So the people are ready for something new. But you got to have money to make it happen. You can't do it without any dough. And that's the reality. So if one of these billionaires, could you imagine? I launched Occupy Peace, by the way, over a decade ago, had a big rally here in Kingston, New York. This was the first capital of New York State, third Dutch settlement, more pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings here than anywhere else in America. And I own 3 on the most historic corner in America, where the only place with pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings on each corner. And I bought them because the seeds of democracy was sown here. And I had a big peace rally on September 28th, Scott Ritter, Judge Napolitano, and others. Zero coverage in the media. Zero. Streets were closed, packed. Zero. Could you imagine if the billionaires gave $1 billion for peace? We'd have it like that. We'd have it like that. But they're just pieces of crap. But they're a lot smarter than I am, because when they die, they're going to make these huge coffins and take all their money with them and live happily ever after. All right?
Yeah, well, they're going to say they're going to donate it and then put it into all these projects that they have on the side.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if they gave money, you're asking how it could happen. It could happen like that. Happen like that. If the billionaires put billions in for peace like that, we'd have it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's fingers crossed. And I think that's sort of linked to, unfortunately, it seems like things have to get worse for there to be change. And, in your article, your most recent Trends Journal article, you talked about sort of when the economy falls, jobs will go as well. And it does seem like jobs are starting to go. People are starting to lose their jobs. Amazon did this thing where they're trying to make their cloud business come back to work 5 days a week. And it sounds like an attempt to get people to leave. So it seems like these trends are happening. These large businesses are getting rid of people. And there's, not many jobs in the market.
No, again, for over about 110 weeks, we've been doing job losses in the Trends Journal. And in another one, businesses going out of business. They got this chain of crap food over here, Denny's. They just closed 150 places. One after another, closing down. It's hardly reported. And again, they just pump up the news of what NVIDIA is doing or whatever, a couple of AIs and this and that. But on the average, again, tracking trends is the understanding of where we are and how we got here to see where we're going. When I was a young man, they had things called grocery stores, hardware stores, drug stores, stationery stores, shoe stores. Locally owned. Not anymore. They're all chains. The slimeball politicians did away with the antitrust laws that prohibited the Walmarts and the Lowe's and the Kroger's from taking over the country. They did away with it. They get paid off. Morons and imbeciles call it campaign contributions. Adults call it bribes and payoffs. I talked about 6 companies running 92% of the media. That little slime ball, Bill Clinton. And by the way, this was a T-shirt that I had made up when Clinton ran in 1992. Beware of Slick Willie. A little slime ball, arrogant piece of shit of nothing. A nothing. Hey, but I got the money behind me. This guy deregulated more things than any. He killed the Democratic Party. That was the end of the Democratic Party. He gave us the 1996 Federal Communications Act that deregulated the communications industry. There were thousands of independently owned radio and TV stations and newspapers in America until he deregulated and the bigs bought up everything. This is the same slime ball that brought China into the World Trade Organization. I tell you, I'm up here in Kingston, New York. There used to be factories here. Oh, there were factories all over, all gone. We're going to China. We got slave labor over there. We got really make a lot more money, get manufactured over there. That's Bill Clinton. And again, one after another. Oh, he did away with the Glass-Steagall Act, too. Oh, and Jimmy Carter, the guys everybody knows, Jimmy Carter. That was a slime ball that did away with the regulations where they used to have the banks in the United States could only be interstate, in the state. They couldn't be intrastate into other states. So now we have Bank of America. They were only in California. Now they're everywhere. Again, the politicians get paid off. This is one of my T-shirts. You can get it at Trends Journal. Just to show you the way I feel about this. Can you read that? Can you see that?
Yep.
And there's the back. All right? End of story. You got a crime syndicate destroying a country near you. They only care about themselves. And as a Napolitano born in the Bronx, you call these guys out man to man, as we'd say back then, and now they wouldn't know whether to piss or shit. They're little gutless boys and girls. Follow your leader? Where you going to lead? Where do we follow your leader? What am I, 6 years old? That has to be the attitude of the people. Yeah, follow your leader. They'll lead you into hell. Follow your leader. Look at the crap they make up. Oh, His Majesty. What, some slime ball from a crime syndicate? Oh, no, he's His Majesty. He's dressed up in his costume with all his medals, rolled out the red carpet. Grow the hell up.
Yeah, it is a massive issue, and yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any better. It's just concentration of wealth and concentration of power, and
Yep.
and we see that everywhere in every
Yep.
country. It's the same in the
Yep.
UK. You know, everything's in London. In the US, it all goes to LA, New York. They sort of going out of these communities, as you were saying, into these cities, and the people in the communities are just left behind, and they have
Yep.
nothing else.
Nope.
And it
You
doesn't
go
seem
to
like,
any of the, there's a big immigration issue in America. Again, just to put it into context, when I was a young kid, I heard my parents, may they rest in peace, they wanted to bring their cousin Constantino into America. They couldn't do it. It was too hard to bring people in. This is in the 1950s. The Vietnam War breaks out, and I'm prime Vietnam War era. I'm born in 46, so they're drafting everybody. When they started the Vietnam War, they eased the immigration laws to get more guys to come in because they was drafting all the guys. And then in my book, one of my books, here it is over here, it's the international best-selling book, Trends 2000. I wrote about the H-1B visas when the internet revolution began in the early 1990s. They needed labor. And they didn't want to pay the American people a lot of money, so they'd had this H-1B visas to bring in cheap Indian and Chinese and other labor. Now, again, you got to see where it's going. Now the immigration's flooding in. And you know why? They need cheap labor. because the chains own everything and they pay the people nothing. You go to any of the big chains, I don't care which one, you'll see a sign on the door, help wanted, part-time, full-time. Half the people can't speak English. The bigs own everything. This is better than the old plantation system where you had to house and feed them. Now you just give them enough money, get the hell out of here and come back tomorrow. And these people that are leaving their countries where they're suffering, this is better than nothing for them. So they're happy to have these jobs. You go to any construction job around, most of the people aren't speaking English. So they're bringing in more and more cheap labor. And they're not only doing it here, they're doing it in Germany. They're even saying it. They have a labor shortage, they're saying. No, they don't. So they want the cheap labor so the bigs could keep making more money.
Yeah, it's definitely what we're seeing, everywhere in the world. But if we go to, you mentioned precious metal, gold, it's really outperformed this year. So do you see that continuing just because of the lack of faith that people, the bigs and I guess, even countries, BRICS nations and others have in the US and the West, they're sort of moving away and they're diversifying away from bonds and other assets into precious metals. Is that what you're seeing?
Again, go back to the BRICS. They've had enough of the United States socioeconomic and geopolitical hegemony. They're tired of it. America became the country that our founding fathers fought against. Great Britain. The business of Great Britain, the sun never sets on the British Empire. We'll kill and slaughter people all over the world. We love war. So, what happened after World War I? You had enough war? Whoop, the pound went way down because of all their wars, and the dollar took over. Now the United States became that same country. Over $1 trillion we spent when you put the military-industrial complex in intelligence agencies a year. Tens and tens and tens and countless of trillions of dollars to keep fighting these wars. The dollar is only strong because interest rates are high. The lower interest rates fall, the deeper the dollar goes. It's the beginning of the death of the dollar. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices go because gold is dollar-based. So it's cheaper for other countries to buy gold. This is just the beginning. I've been at this again. One of my other books, 1986, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. I began my career when I started buying gold when the Iranian conflict broke out in the 1970s. And they taught Americans to hate Iran, not knowing, of course, that the United States and Winston Churchill, the MI6 and the CIA overthrew the democratically elected government of Mossadegh in 1953 in Iran, because he said that oil does not belong to Anglo-Iranian Oil, better known today as BP, or Standard Oil, better known today as ExxonMobil. It's the Iranian people's oil. No, it's not. And they overthrew Mossadegh, brought in the Shah, the Savat, the secret police. Anyway, as people are learning to hate Iran, I said, I bet oil and gold prices will go up. And I started playing the futures markets. $10,000 bet, $5,000 in each. I brought to almost $750,000. That's when I quit my job and started trend forecasting. I lost a lot of the dough, but I made enough to keep going. The same thing is going on now. The people have no clue what's going on. All they're taught is to hate. When we go to gold, you have to look at the geopolitical situation. The Ukraine war and the Israel war. These two wars ramp up. Gold prices are going to spike way, way beyond where they are now. It's the most precious safe haven asset of the precious metals. So they're not talking about the geopolitical consequences. We are on the verge of nuclear war. Israel, and they keep promoting how great they defeated Hamas, how they defeated Hezbollah. They're defeating Hezbollah. Again, I was a premature baby. I was in an incubator for a long time. And I grew up in the Bronx, right? I'm born in 46. The bullies pick on the littlest kid. And of course, I learned how to fight right away, so that changed that tune. But Israel is bullying the little kids. What do you got? Lebanon, a country the size of Connecticut? We're about 5 or 6 million people. What do you got? Hamas, a tiny little thing in Gaza? What are you beating? You're blowing it all apart? And how many people live in Israel? Well, there are 9 million of them, 7 million of them are Jewish. Okay, 7 million versus 91 million Iranians. 7 million versus 91 million. The bully is not going to beat Iran. The media and the liars could say all they want. Ain't no way, no how. So now, Iran, these are the Persians, very advanced militarily. They've been building this up for decades, knowing that this was going to reach this point. Again, Israel is nothing but a bully for the little guys. There's no way they're going to beat Iran. But what are they going to do? Look it up. The Samson option, SAMSON. If they lose, they go nuclear, and they are reportedly have between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. We are on the verge. World War III has already begun. They're just going to make something to make it, quote, official, whether it's in a false flag, whatever it might be, whether it happens with Russia or Israel. And again, Netanyahu said, you keep sending these weapons. Oh, what the EU just gave another 40 billion, 35, 40 billion to Ukraine, money they stole from Russia to give to Ukraine so they can keep the war going. And Putin said, if we feel our country is being threatened, we're going nuclear.
Yeah, it's a scary state that we're in currently. So, Gerald, thanks so much. We've touched on all these different topics, and we've gone, global, local, rural, regional, all these different places. But my last question is, what is one message you'd like people to take away from our conversation?
Again, get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You're in the fight for your life. And united we stand, divided we die. This is serious what's going on. I've never been more concerned in my life. I mean, that there is no outrage at the genocide being committed against the Palestinian people. And now it's bombs away over Beirut and Lebanon. That there is no outrage over this, and that the governments are supporting this in the West is disgusting. And it's going to go into nuclear annihilation if we don't stop it. World War II isn't ancient history. Anybody listen to John F. Kennedy's speech, June 1963. It's all about peace. He said, we should not go to war against the Soviet Union. These are very advanced people, technologically, culturally. He said, scientifically, if we go to war against them, life on Earth will be wiped out in 24 hours. That's 1963. It's a speech to the graduating students at American University in Washington, D.C. That was June. July, August, September, October, November, Jack, you're dead. They killed him. It was all about peace. 8 months later, they took us into the Vietnam War. Again, life on Earth will be destroyed within 24 hours. We go to war, nuclear war now, life on Earth will be destroyed for generations. And matter of fact, Kennedy said it would be destroyed for generations as well. So all these imbeciles and morons that are building these bomb shelters, life will be so wonderful after the nuclear explosions. You'll be as happy as can be. Again, it's up to the people to stop this. And if we don't unite for peace, it's going to be hell on earth. That's my greatest concern.
I think a lot of people are definitely seeing this over the past few years. It seems to be getting worse. And yeah, let's hope that change can happen before it before this hell on earth occurs. But yeah, Gerald, thanks so much. If anyone wanted to find out more about your work, I know you've talked about the Trends Journal. Is that the best place to find your work? Is there anywhere else?
Trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. There's no magazine, if you could find another magazine like it, let me know. They don't know how to forecast trends. They don't teach it at Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford. They don't have a clue. They don't teach it in school. They don't know how to do it. All they do is sell government propaganda. I call them prostitutes, media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and their government whoremasters. So go to trendsjournal.com and check it out. If you don't like it, 30-day money back guarantee. And again, it's only $2.56 a week. I subscribe to the Financial Times. It's almost $700 a year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I think we've seen as well with these experts, apparently the Fed and other institutions, they have however many PhDs. They're meant to be able to forecast all these things in advance, and they're horrible at doing it. So this is definitely an issue that no one knows how to forecast. But yeah, we'll definitely recommend people checking out what you do. So thanks again for your time.
And thank you for having me, Anthony.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. I really appreciate the support. If you've got value out of this, I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, or comment, good or bad feedback. I'm always open to that. But it really helps with the channel. As I said before, only about 14% of people actually subscribe to this channel. So if you were to that, it would really help. It could mean we could continue to grow. If not, thanks for watching and see you on the next show. And you also might like this video right here. All right, thanks again.